Most definitely, all you require in life, God has given you. And He brings you ultimate health on Joy 99.7 FM. Tell somebody we're live on Facebook and YouTube. And I'm going to be asking you, do you know your status? Yeah, in 1986, Ghana started its battle with HIV/AIDS. And we're talking now in 2018. What is the tale of the tape? We've heard some frightening statistics about a spike in new infections. 1st of December was World AIDS Day. So we're going to reflect. Test and know your status. Stop the spread of HIV. A couple of years back, we committed to eradicating or eliminating HIV by the year 2030. Are we on track? Are we on target? We have HIV positive, we have HIV negative, and we also have HIV ignorant. That's what we're talking about today. I have a policymaker, a clinician, and an HIV ambassador who's actually living with HIV/AIDS. Tell somebody to tell a friend. You can WhatsApp us on 0244 340 437. Ultimate Health on Joy 99.7 FM. I'm in the studio with Cosmos, Mr. Cosmos Ohinieje. He's the director of the Policy and Planning Division of the Ghana AIDS Commission. Next to him, I have Dr. Naashele Vanderpoy. She's the CEO of the West African AIDS Foundation. They are celebrating, how many years is it? 25?
20.
20 years. And she's a clinician. She's been practicing. And, of course, Reverend John Azuma. He's living with HIV. And he's an ambassador, a bold one at that.
Yeah.
Uncle John.
Yes, sir.
It's been a while.
Very, very.
You're always looking great.
Thank God.
Yes. We look up and we thank God.
Yes.
Right. So we're going to be looking at this whole response, national response, the global response to HIV. And we're particularly, should I say, concerned now that we know we have a serious spike in new infections. And so that's what we're talking about. And, of course, there's a campaign on for you to know your status. If you have any questions, concerns, WhatsApp me on 0244 340 437. Uncle Cosmos.
Hello.
How's the Ghana AIDS Commission?
Doing well.
We're doing well?
Yeah, we're doing well.
Right. We just celebrated World AIDS Day.
Yes, we did World AIDS Day just last week.
Yeah.
We were in Ho
from
Friday to Saturday, and we finished up on Sunday.
These days you don't invite me.
Well, I think we sent out a public invitation to everyone. So.
Right, Madani Public. But it's all good. I mean, we celebrate this every year. We mark the day. We also recommit ourselves to targets and things we've set for ourselves as a country. Right? So give us a recap. What's our situation now as a country? What's the tale of the tape? What's our prevalence? And what are the highlights we need to know about our HIV status?
Okay, thank you very much, and good afternoon to everyone listening to us on a Sunday afternoon after church. And I believe this conversation is going to be a blessing unto so many other people in this country.
Amen.
Yes, you are right. 1986, Ghana identified the first few AIDS cases, not HIV, AIDS cases, which means that people had had an infection for some time, and the manifestation of having to live with the infection or having the infection without any treatment was shown and identified in our clinics. So the first, I think they were just about 46 or 52 cases. And since then, so 86 to 2018, we are doing 32 years into HIV epidemic in Ghana. And the tale is that we have managed to stabilize the prevalence. In the last 5 or more years, we have hovered just around 2% within the general population. In 2017...
Of 29 or so million people.
Yeah, roughly.
2%.
29, just 2%.
Right.
It's not just.
Right.
In the world of HIV, one person infected is sufficient to spread to so many people.
We have above 310,000 people.
Yes. So as of 2017, the estimated count is 313. It's 313,038 persons estimated to be living with the virus.
Okay.
This time living with the virus but not suffering from AIDS.
Okay. Let me just get you to clarify that. When we say estimated,
yeah,
which means that we have a sure count of persons who have been identified by the system, the response system, and then there's a projection about the margin of those who have not been identified. That gives us a projected range, isn't that it?
Yes.
Okay.
You see, worldwide, calibration have been determined. I mean, systems have been put in place as to how to do the estimates.
Okay.
It depends on several other factors, economic factors, the prevalence among pregnant women, the general population. There are so many parameters that are taken into account.
Okay.
And the UNAs have put in place this estimation mechanism that countries use to. So it's not our own specific, but it's a global.
Yeah, I just wanted listeners to understand.
So every year it is done, and based on the year's parameters and the levels of prevalence among young people, among the general population, among the economic situation, availability of treatment, number of persons who know their HIV status, already tested and know their HIV status. So the factors are quite a lot, and they put all these in the machine, more or less, so to speak. And it does the calibration for us. And in 2017, the calibration, the figure came out to be 1.67 among the general population.
Okay.
If you remember, every year, the Ghana Health Service, through the National AIDS Control Program, also measures the prevalence among pregnant women.
Okay.
So we should know the difference.
Yeah.
The HIV Sentinel survey is done annually.
Right.
Based on 40 sites across the country. There are rural sites, there are urban sites, and based on the numbers that they pick from these ANC sites, NACP is also able to establish the prevalence level among pregnant women. Okay. And it's also one of the parameters that is used in calibrating the national average.
Okay.
So among pregnant women, it was 2.4%.
Okay.
But this is only for pregnant women, which annually we record about 1 million or so.
Well, a good proxy because ultimately they have been exposed to sex, right?
Yes. So based on that, our prevalence as of 2017 is 1.67. Okay. And we hope to do the same for within the first quarter of 2019 for 2018.
Okay.
So we are counting 300 plus thousand, 1.67 among general population, and interestingly, we have observed that the eastern region, which had borne the brunt of HIV, having had very high prevalence in the early stages, it was close to 20%.
They lost their position.
It really have come down. Right. Well, based on the national estimates, eastern region still tops with 2.3%.
Okay.
But among pregnant women, it has dropped to the third position.
So is that an indication that we're doing something that is working, something that is stabilizing or controlling and having, should I say, the desired impact or effect on the HIV situation in Ghana?
Certainly we should say, yes, we are making progress, but the progress has stabilized around 2%. And for that matter, the fact that you take every 100 persons within the population, you have 2 persons being HIV positive, is sufficient enough for us not to rest on our oars. Okay. Because we still have to do a lot.
All right. 16 minutes past the hour of 2. We're talking about the HIV situation in Ghana. The tail of the tape. I've got a clinician, I've got an HIV ambassador, and I've got a policy and planning rep from the Ghana AIDS Commission. If you have any questions, concerns, join us by WhatsApp 0244340437. Shortly, I will activate the phone lines. We're also live on Facebook and YouTube. The program is Ultimate Health. Now, Dr. Van der Poy, I mean, you've been at the forefront, right? If we've done 32 years since 1986, the West African AIDS Foundation, 20 years. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Right. It's not the best of fields to be working in, as some clinicians will say, right? What's been the experience? And are you as optimistic and, should I say, reasonably satisfied with the gains that Mr. Ohene-Adjei talks about, looking at your 20 years?
Yeah, I think the first thing I would say is, we started in 1998 when Ghana didn't have access to antiretroviral medications.
Right.
So when I compare those years to what we are seeing today, it's night and day. You know, we've really made
those years were bad news.
Very bad news.
I remember your center at Roman Ridge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there were some very, very ghastly things we saw.
Exactly.
Right.
I mean, people were dying on a daily basis. So that's why even today I use that, you know, as a means to encourage people today who are, you know, newly diagnosed and people too who have been on medications for a very long time.
Right.
You know, people get fed up with swallowing medicines every day. But for people like myself who have witnessed, you know, people dying because they didn't have access to, you know, life-saving medications. Right. And today we have these. You know, we have no excuse to say we are tired of swallowing it. We all hope that, you know, we are praying very hard that something better will come, maybe even a cure. Right. But as long as that is not there and we have medications that, you know, can ensure you have quality of life and basically can stay alive, you know, you shouldn't have any excuse for that. You should take your medicines. So that's one area that I feel that we have made, you know, progress.
Good progress,
yeah.
Right.
The only thing is, you know, we still battle as a country in terms of having total control of this epidemic and making sure that we have the resources to sustain it. You know, so far we've been relying quite a bit on external, you know, help for some of these things, and that is where sometimes I feel
quite a bit is putting it mildly, isn't it? External, I mean, we are resource poor.
Yes,
it's identified, and there's been a change in the, should I say, donor profile.
Certainly.
Right? And has it affected us? I mean, I'll come back to you, Cosmos, because you know, we've worked together for years on HIV, but the general public feels we've coiled within ourselves, and they're not hearing as much, and as a result, I guess many of our listeners, many of the Ghanaian public are becoming rather, should I say, relaxed when it comes to HIV. They no longer mobilize the response in the way we want them to, because they are hearing that there are medications available. It's now treated with regard or in terms of a chronic condition. Have we been dealt a bad blow with this change in donor, should I support?
Well, let me say that we still continue to enjoy some good measure of donor support as a country. Certainly, the numbers of donors or development partners contributing to the national response by way of their funding have reduced. Now, we currently have largely the PEPFAR, that's the USG, the American government, through PEPFAR, that's the President's Emergency Fund for AIDS Relief in Africa.
That's right.
So then we have the Global Fund. So these are largely the two major funding partners, but others also, civil society organizations also receive some small support from other private sector foundations across the country. Yes, I wouldn't say we have been dealt badly. Yes, we agree that it is our epidemic, and we must own our epidemic, because if you don't begin to put in money, then if the donor says tomorrow, "Oh, I'm done," then it means we are going to be left without any support. Right. So we need to begin to receive that needed local funding support to ensure that we can also take over entirely our response.
Right.
And because of this, in 2016, Ghana AIDS Commission's new act was established and enacted, and within that we have an AIDS fund to be established for the country.
Right. Yeah.
And the legal issues are it takes a bit of time to get some of these things done.
Not if it was the MPs.
Well, what we need to put in place before the fund can be established has to do with the creation of a legislative instrument. And for once that is done, then the commission or the governing board would have all the powers to set up the fund and inaugurate it. And and I can tell you that the committee to work on this is already in place and they are working.
Okay. I can tell you 21 minutes past the hour of 2 that I'm in contact with several committees in the same situation where a fund by law is supposed to be set up, and there's still a lot of dithering by Parliament and policymakers, and I'm not in the least happy. And I know maybe as a director of policy planning, you might not say it, but I think government needs to come to the plate. The Ghana AIDS Commission has the president as its head. And it has, should I say, cross-ministerial representation. Exactly. So it is not something we should joke with. Swaziland is topping the list with 27-point-something prevalence. Okay?
Yeah.
So we've done well, but this baton change from donors to ownership is something that if we don't hit hard, right, like I'm trying to do now, it will be sitting there and we'll be waiting for an LI and other things.
Let me say that the LI is quite, in its advanced stage, is ready to be submitted to the Attorney General's office for them, because they are the guardians of all.
Yeah, that's where the labyrinth even becomes worse. All right, I'm saying this from experience, doing a lot of advocacy in different areas.
I agree, but you cannot also circumvent the process.
Of course.
So it's at the point of being submitted to the Attorney General's department, and they will subsequently send it to Parliament.
Okay, great.
Fortunately, we have parliamentarians on our governing board that have also indicated and shown interest in ensuring that once the document gets to Parliament, they would follow up and ensure that it is given the needed urgent attention, so that I can say for sure that within the first quarter of 2019, I should think that LI should have been passed, so that we can have our AIDS fund, because our board is very particular about this particular fund.
All right, 23 minutes past your hour of 2. You know, listeners, the reason why I'm hitting this so hard is because lives are at stake. Right? It makes the difference between having a good, sustainable supply of antiretrovirals, care and support, all the things we're talking about. And the new thrust is for us to identify 90% of the cases and make sure 90% of those cases, once identified, very early, are on treatment. And then also to ensure that 90% of those identified and on treatment achieve viral suppression, which means that their viral load for HIV is undetectable.
Exactly.
We set those targets.
Yes.
So that's why I'm saying I'm hitting hard on this policy, which is your baby.
That is.
Very, very hard, because I know what happens when it goes to the AG or is supposed to be submitted, and the supervising ministry is also not aware, and you end up chasing. That's why I hit that. But we'll come to the real issues. If you've just joined us, 24 minutes past the hour of 2. I'm talking the tale of the tape, HIV, Ghana's experience, where we are, what we're doing well in, and what is not going so well. If you have questions and concerns, WhatsApp is 0244340437. 1st December was World AIDS Day. Reverend John Azuma has been living with HIV for now how many years?
18 years.
And Reverend and his wife Lydia are both HIV ambassadors. And Reverend will tell you, and I know for a fact, that if it wasn't for the access to antiretrovirals and even the courage to go initially to the Tema General Hospital several years ago, he would not be sitting here.
Exactly so.
I've handled HIV ambassadors in this studio. Well, it wasn't exactly the same building. Who've left us? Gladstone Atipo. Charles Akins. And their time was a totally different
exactly.
Day. What's it like now, Reverend, knowing you owe your life, your existence, your ability to even come out courageously and say, I am HIV positive and I'm living positively with the virus? How does it feel knowing that it's so important and critical to have these support services and treatment and care?
Yeah, thank you very much. It is a big joy to have all this access around, because looking at even 18 years back the line, when we were first diagnosed, there was no antiretroviral by then. Well, our fate was left in our own hands. They say we are going to die. That was the response from the health professional. And from there, moving to prayer camp, from prayer camp, moving to herbal concoctions. And every morning I will look at my children and my wife and say, we are going to die. I was even asking, so between me and my wife, who will even die first?
Who should go first?
So my wife will say, hey, if she leave, I should take care of the children. The same thing I also tell her, that if I leave first, she should also make sure she take care of the children. And lo and behold, all these have turned around. And today we are alive through the antiretroviral. It is a big plus. And I will encourage my friends, my sisters who are also HIV, to learn from this, that HIV with antiretroviral, you have a life to lead. And therefore, do not joke with it. When you are hearing and you are HIV positive, please go to the clinic and take your antiretroviral. I have taken it, and here I am today.
John, there's the critical part there, which is if you know you are HIV positive, this awareness of your status, this ability, willingness to go forward and test.
Yeah.
Tell us about it, because many people don't understand. Sometimes workplace screening and a few other things.
Yeah.
But many people say, look, I'm better off not knowing.
Yeah.
What would you say to them? Because we have a campaign now which says know your status. And it's central, it's pivotal in our response now that most people should know their status.
Yeah. People who say that, I will say that is even the dangerous decision to say that if I don't know, I'm better off.
Right.
Yeah, because if you don't know, you might be an HIV positive. And in that case, you might be infecting others. And as you are infecting others, your system is getting weaker and weaker.
Right.
So by the time you got to know finally, you are already breaking your system.
Okay.
But if you know earlier on, like the campaign, know your status, and you follow it and you know it, you will be initiated on the antiretroviral. Okay. And earlier, the better. When you are antiretroviral very early, it suppresses your virus down. Right. And like you said, the last 90, that you will get to undetectable stage.
Right.
And that is the stage I am now.
Right.
That's the stage other ambassadors are now. Okay. So I will say that, please, that notion that if I don't know, I'm off better, now that is not the best. Right. Know it now. When you know it now, you have access to treatment. Okay. We will take care. Confidentiality is very at stake, which will make sure we protect you and make sure that the retroviral drugs are always available for you.
Okay.
So I will say that go for your tests and take the retroviral drugs.
I'll come to the clinician in a second. But you and Lydia got to know at a time when, particularly for Lydia, your wife.
Yeah.
She was on her last legs.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. At that time, she was sick, and as a pastor, your wife is sick. You visit the hospital. You come back and pray. We pray more than even going to the hospital. Right. That become some norms for some fellow Ghanaians, but which is wrong anyway. Okay. So we pray until finally we went to the hospital, and doctor says we have to do HIV test. Initially, we wanted to reject.
Which year was this?
That was 2000. Right. Yeah, we wanted to reject because a pastor and also for mommy. And later did we know that HIV is at the corner. So we wanted to reject and go home. But I heard a voice that, John, humble yourself and go for the test. So I told my wife that no problem. Once we are in the hospital premises, let's do it. So we did it. And the result came in 3 days' time. That today, thank God that less than 5 minutes, your result is ready. But in those days, 3 days' time. So the result came and said that we are all HIV positive.
Both you and your wife?
Both me and my wife. And we have 2 children by then. So we brought in the children. They test the children. They are negative. So we say, oh, why? What have we done? God, what happened? What is the issue? But we can't blame God in HIV. Right. It's a condition. We accepted. One thing that helped us was that we accepted our result and look for treatment. Okay. So if you are hearing me, some people will get tested, they are positive, they don't want to accept the result. Right. They will tell them, no, I'm going to my pastor for prayer.
So for such people, knowing their status doesn't really help much. It rather makes it worse. Because
yes, because one thing about HIV is when you are tested, you must accept. They'll ask you, which result are you expecting? Me, if I test you, I will ask you, which result are you expecting? Right. Oh, everybody will tell me I'm expecting negative. I'll ask you, what about if it tends to be positive? Some will say, well, I will accept it. Some will say, I won't accept it. I will say, why won't you accept it? Because the result is showing positive, and you are saying you won't accept it. So I will say that whatever the result may be, accept it. There is life after HIV.
Right. Right, Dr. Van der Poel. So this is a critical thing. We want people to test.
Yes.
But beyond the test itself is the key to the door to treatment, care, support, whatever, right?
Exactly.
But after testing, there are big decisions to be taken. There's pre-test counseling, there's post-test counseling, but people need to be able to accept and then go further to the higher ground of disclosure.
Exactly.
Have we been, making positive gains in this regard, that people firstly are understanding the need to test, and then they have support to actually disclose to significant others, and then access the care and support that Cosmos and all of us are fighting for resources to be able to deliver?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think we are making progress in all of these areas, but there is one enemy that is really sitting in our way, and that is stigma.
Stigma.
Yes, stigma is really hindering us in terms of all the things you've mentioned. People, first of all, going in to know their status. Right. Then secondly, when they know it, disclosing. I mean, it's so bad so that we have couples, married couples, where one has come in. And these days, because of Ghana's vision to eliminate mother-to-child transmission, all pregnant women are being tested. And so a woman will find out that she's HIV positive and finds it very difficult to go back and tell her husband about it. And why? Because of stigma. She's so afraid as to how the man will take it, what the decisions will be. And most of them will tell you, I can't just tell him because I'm just afraid he will leave me. And it's something that we are really battling with. I just also wanted to add to what John said about the question you asked him. It's very important that you know your HIV status, because if you are infected, up until you decide to go and do an HIV test and know that you have it, the virus is actually controlling your life. And it's only when you test, and then you decide to take control, that you now control the virus. And that's very important for us to know. It's just like, I sometimes even, it's probably not a very good comparison, but I tell people, if you are hiding a pregnancy, at some point it will show. It's the same with HIV. If you don't test, know your status, and take charge, the virus will control you, and it will control you till it kills you.
33 minutes past the hour of 2 on Joy 99.7 FM. The program is Ultimate Health, your ultimate guide to healthy living. We're doing a special Tale of the Tape edition on HIV, just gone past World AIDS Day, 1st of December. Is it just a T-shirt and, brass band thing, a derby thing, or are we looking at the real, should I say, concrete gains and programs and campaigns and interventions on the ground? That's why I've got the people in the studio. You just heard not too long ago, John Azumah, Reverend John Azumah, a minister of the faith who has been living with the HIV virus since
18 years.
The year 2000. 18 years.
Yes.
And not just him, he and his wife are both HIV positive, and they are two of our strongest ambassadors as part of our Heart to Heart campaign. And so they're living it, they are walking the talk, and they are sharing and encouraging others to get to know their status, which is a critical pillar in our national response now. Next to him, I have Dr. Nashele van der Poy. She's the CEO of the West African AIDS Foundation. They've been at it for 20 years, and they've also gone through the developmental stages in the days where we had nothing and we were all scared. And all the media communication strategies were fear-oriented. And it was all a war. We've gone past that, and we're getting a bit more, should I say, measured and calculated in our interventions. But she's a clinician, and she's been handling a lot of these cases and issues. And then next to her, I have Cosmos Ohini Ejay. He's the Director of Policy and Planning at the Ghana AIDS Commission. That's our umbrella coordinating body for the country. And they sit on top of all the issues and the policy, should I say, pathways that will unfold or roll out the resources and the capacity to relate to and address HIV/AIDS. If you have any questions, concerns, share with us and we will address your questions. Cosmos, let me ask you a couple of these things. And those of you who are still sending me WhatsApps about Isaac Dogbe, it's happened. Yes, he lost. It's a painful loss, and I've seen the pictures of his face. But right now, we're also doing something else. We're talking about HIV, another fight. And if we're not careful, Ghana's face might look like what his looked like, but I know he can bounce back. Right. I've got this from Dede in the U.S. She's in Maryland. She says, my cousin did the test and was negative, and her husband decided not to since his wife was negative. That is proxy. Therefore, he must be negative. Is he right? Can you assume, speculate, by proxy that my partner is negative and therefore I don't need to test? Dr. van der Poy.
Yes.
It's a common thing we come across, eh?
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm scared already, and you have tested. So since yours has gone well, why should I go and they'll tell me Nkoyi?
Yes, I think it's a common thing we hear, especially also with the women. I said it, women are testing more now. Yeah. Generally, women actually test more than men.
Okay.
And so you get the men saying, because my wife tested and she's negative, automatically I'm also negative. It's not so.
We don't need those gray areas in our response.
No.
We want people who know their status.
Exactly. We want to know each individual's person's status. And you can only know that if you, the individual, go and test.
Okay.
You can't hang your status on somebody else's one.
And of course, we have discordant couples.
We have discordant couples.
Where one is positive
exactly.
and the other is negative.
Exactly.
Right.
And it doesn't necessarily also have to mean that the one who is positive is on treatment. It's a bit technical, but...
Right.
Transmitting HIV from one person to the other is about so many factors. You know, so many things come to play. So we can have people maybe at the very early stages of an infection, not yet on treatment, and now know their status, but have not yet passed the virus onto the, onto the spouse or something.
Right.
So to know your status, each individual just needs to test.
Okay.
You can just,
Let me just add that. Yes, even knowing your status today, if it's negative,
it's not permanent.
It's not permanent.
Right.
It's not a lifelong.
You know, somebody says, look,
it's not a lifelong certificate.
I've been so reckless. I've been so bad. And I tested and it was negative. So what's the big deal? If, based on my, in quotes, relevant history or CV, some people will say, and they say, what's the big deal? Right? And you're saying, well, no position
in HIV testing, especially if it turns out to be negative, is permanent.
And that is why in counseling, pre-test and post-test, you're helped to appreciate and understand your own unique risk profile.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
And that's why we also recommend and advise that you should have tests done every 6 months, after every 6 months.
Okay.
To be very sure and to help you lead a very preventive life.
Okay.
You see, we say testing is also one of the key factors for prevention. Because if I test today and I'm HIV positive, the door is open for me. I can go on treatment and I can get to the state where Reverend is now, that I cannot have even the capacity to transmit the infection to others. If I'm negative, then I also have the options of ensuring that I go onto the preventive mechanisms that are available for me and be able to keep my negative status.
Okay.
But as I said, it's not a permanent certificate for an HIV negative status. It can change any point in time. Depends on so many other factors, including behavior.
Right, great. Dede had already just sent that. How often should one test? She does hers annually in her annual health check. That's Dede in Maryland. Thanks, Dede, for sharing that. It's about 40 minutes past the hour of 2. And, sometimes, John, people see you, they see Gifty, they see Charity, and you guys are looking good. You're sharing the good message. And they think, well, even if I get it, I'm going to be like John. So why panic, right? John hasn't left us. He's alive. He's enjoying a good life. He's a married man. He has children and so on. And this kind of confuses the message that people are getting a bit relaxed. Now they are confident that there's something out there. There's a safety net. What do you say to such people? Because they don't know your unique mix. They don't know the status of your immune system or your general overall health status, which can also contribute to how you look now. They just look at you and they say, wow. Why be scared anymore?
Yeah, thank you. I would say that it's not easy living with HIV. Yes, for sure. Taking drug every day. So don't look at me because I'm good, I'm fresh, and therefore you play all the careless game. And so once Reverend is fine, when I'm positive, I will look like Reverend. It doesn't happen like that. Probably Reverend is doing something you cannot do. And living with HIV, it comes with a lot of things. You must take care of yourself, your eating, and your intake of the drugs is very important. Your environment must be clean. Your systems is already deteriorated, so you don't need to destroy it more. So all these things go into account.
You're worried about getting malaria.
And yes, exactly. So every day you are always very careful because you malaria shouldn't come, diarrhea shouldn't come. You are always thinking, what can I do to protect myself? So probably what Reverend is doing, or what Charity, Lydia are doing.
The discipline you maintain.
You cannot. So we are not saying that, therefore you do anything and get HIV. What we are saying is that if you are positive, we will counsel you. But if you are not, don't join the train. The train is already overloaded.
We don't need more ambassadors and more persons.
We don't need more people living with HIV. Right. The load, the car is already full.
Okay.
As we speak now,
it's not some exclusive club that you are now. You know.
No. We don't need more people.
Right.
We don't need more people. Already we are overnumbered,
right.
And therefore we don't need more people to join us. If you are negative, stay negative.
Okay.
And maintain your negative.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to activate the phone line shortly, but John, let me allow you to speak briefly on other persons. You know, people know the ambassadors. Mm-hmm. And for Dr. Vanderpoel and Cosmos, you know, they get the wrong impression. There are other people out there living and battling on a daily basis with HIV.
Yeah.
What's the general picture for the average Ghanaian who has HIV and is accessing services the way you do?
Yeah.
Is it easy? Is it a tough life? Are they facing... I know at some point you had some family members on your neck. And, you know,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. You see...
What's the average person going through living with HIV?
It's very difficult.
Right.
Some complacencies are setting in for some people living with HIV, and at a certain time they stop taking the drugs because they are looking good, they are looking okay, so they think all is over, the virus has gone away, and I'm free.
They should not do that.
They shouldn't do that.
Okay.
So stop the complacency. You take these retroviral drugs until a cure is declared. That's one. Number two, make sure you come back to the clinic at your appointed days. Do not mix your appointed days at the clinic.
Okay.
So that one is also very important. When they write some labs for you to do,
your reviews, your tests are important.
Are very important.
Right.
Those things will keep you in line. The doctor will measure all these things. And now your intake of food is also important. But as we all know, things are hard. So if you take antiretroviral and you don't eat, you won't look like Reverend Azuma.
Okay.
You won't look like Gifty and Charity.
Right.
So your food is also very important.
Okay.
So and I understand in some people when they call, the doctor can bear witness that they will tell you that they stop the drug because they don't have food to eat.
Right.
Anytime they take the drug, they are hungry.
Right.
And therefore, I take the medicine, I'm hungry more, then I better stop.
Okay.
I understand, but that shouldn't be your plan.
Okay.
You can still do something and take the medicine because the medicine is your life now.
All right, great. I'm going to announce the phone line 0302-216-541. 0302-216-541. It's important that we get interactive because we're here for you. I assembled them for you. So the phone lines are activated. 0302-216-541. Ultimate Health on Joy 99.7 FM. We are talking about the HIV/AIDS situation or the HIV situation in Ghana, where we've gotten to, where we want to get to, the targets we've committed to as a country, local and global targets. They are very, very important. So I've got the right people in the studio. You can ask us. But let me bring this issue up. You know, I did some HIV training in Uganda. As far back as 2003, and I noticed that at their centers people come in for their reviews and all that, but they also get food supplements and food packages and so on alongside medication. I'm going to take this caller from Tema and then come back to see what else do we give people, because sometimes people think we just give them the antiretrovirals. Let's see what we have laid out and what more we need to give them. Hello, Ajiman.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How's Tema?
Oh, Tema is cool. Just the hot weather.
Hot weather, eh?
Yeah.
All right. Not so cool, but cool. All right. Share with us.
Yeah, I want to ask your guest. I mean, people are saying that sometimes, I mean, it's peaceful for you to stay without going to check your status because the moment you hear that you are positive, you tend to die early. But they are saying that counseling will help. After that, some people are also saying that it's a sexual intercourse which is so dangerous because when people use some gadgets like blades, syringe, and other things,
right,
and after it's got dried, it's not dangerous anymore. What do they have to say about it?
Okay, so you're asking about modes of transmission, and again, whether counseling alone is sufficient to, hold you over and lead you to the positive living. Let me just read this out before. 9 on the spin text says, I think the unwillingness of people to test regularly is because they feel that HIV is almost always sexually transmitted. And once they believe they've been chased or abstained from it, they can't get it. But can you please enlighten us on all the other ways of getting infected or being infected so that people will know that it is not only through sex or sexual transmission? I've got Lukman on my line. Let me take Lukman. Good afternoon, Lukman. Hello, Lukman. Hello.
Good afternoon, Mr. Note.
Yes, good afternoon. You're welcome. Share with us quickly.
Yeah, thank you, and good afternoon to your resource person. I would like to congratulate them for helping the public to know their HIV status. But I want to know, in our hospitals, do they do HIV tests to our pregnant women compulsory? If they find out that they have HIV, how do they disclose it to them in order not to transfer the HIV to the unborn child? If they do it, how do they tell them? If they don't do it, can they take it on board so that the women, those who have it, may not transfer the HIV to the unborn child?
Okay.
Thank you.
Right, great question. So, mother-to-child transmission, and what is the model we are using? Is it that if once you're pregnant, you'll be tested on a compulsory basis? Do you have a say? Do you give any informed consent? And then, how is the outcome handled? Right. Let's hang on to that. Let me take Emmanuel on my line. Good afternoon, Emmanuel. Hello, Emmanuel. Okay, looks like I lost Emmanuel. Emmanuel, try and get back to us. So, yes, how are we handling the pregnant women? Is it compulsory or mandatory that once you're pregnant, you will be tested? And then if you are, how is the outcome managed? How far do we go in supporting you with the reality of the outcome?
Okay, maybe let me start then. Dr. Ashley will come in. Let me say that testing, there are 3 modes of testing.
All right.
We have the voluntary one for which you yourself, you walk into a facility and you offer yourself that I just want to know my HIV status and it will be done for you. Yes. Okay. Every hospital, almost, there are several points, even at the point of the community, we do outreaches. So testing is not a difficult service to access at all in this country.
Okay.
Then we have also the provider-initiated testing. And that is what I think Lukman is talking about. So for the pregnant woman, yes, once you walk into the antenatal clinic, the midwife there or the nurse there offers you the test. So that's what we call the provider is an offer.
It's an offer.
The provider initiates and offers you the test, gives you all the information about HIV, the benefits of you knowing your status, the benefits to your unborn baby, and even to the entire family and to the country.
Right.
So once the provider initiates you on this counseling basis, then you make an informed choice to say, yes, I want to.
You can decline.
You can decline.
Right.
But within the term of your pregnancy, for the 9 months, the counseling will continue up to such time that you will agree to take the test.
Okay.
Why? Because we want in the next 2 years ahead of us not to have any baby born to an HIV positive person coming out positive.
Right. Because we have the means.
Yes, we have the means
to
and what it
protect
takes.
the unborn child.
Exactly.
And make sure that a child comes out negative.
Exactly.
Right.
So much as we initiate you and you make the choice, we advise that every pregnant woman must know her HIV status.
Okay.
Because of the benefits that are there for you, the mother, the unborn baby, the family, and the entire generation of children that will be born, because we want to ensure that at least we will be able to eliminate mother-to-child transmission.
We've made some good gains in that regard, haven't we? Mother-to-child transmission.
Yes, we have. Yeah. We have. But the difficulty is that the few that are born to HIV mothers and are found to be HIV positive, the difficulty is that the mothers refuse to walk back to the clinic with these infants.
Right.
So we lose most of them for follow-up services.
Right.
And that is what we are saying, that please and please again, if you're a mother and you have been tested and you are HIV positive,
make sure you follow up.
Make sure you return to the clinic with your infant.
Right. Kay has been on my line for a while. Kay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for waiting. Share with us. Yeah.
I'm your regular collaborator.
Yes.
I guess.
Kay from, is it McCarthy Hill or somewhere there?
Tema.
Yeah, Tema. Right.
Yeah. But I want to ask, my cousin with me around, I think, 1.5 months now. The 20th, I do a donation for him, 20th November, in Tema General Hospital. But he have a TB, and later on, he had HIV. But when
your cousin had TB and then had HIV?
HIV.
Right. But you went to donate blood for the person?
Yeah.
Right. Go ahead.
But when his wife came back, I told him to go and see. The doctor told me that he wants to go and check if he have HIV. He told me that he don't have HIV. But I have a child, 6-month baby. So I was just worrying, how come the guy have the HIV and the wife don't have some? And when we were, I think this Friday, we went the counseling, HIV counseling, the general hospital, and they told me that I'm taking care of him, so I should let his wife come and check like around 6 months.
Okay.
But wife don't want to do it.
Okay, right.
If you send it to wife, he said no, don't want to be, so I'm just worried.
Okay, I understand. Right. So what he's saying is that he's lost a cousin through HIV with TB complication, right? The cousin had a wife, and they have a 6-month-old child. The wife is refusing to test, insisting that she is not HIV positive, but she has not tested, right? And then he, as a relative, is worried about this follow-up or the lack of follow-up. He's been there, and he's been asked to encourage this woman to come and test. A very complicated case.
Yeah. So if I
so she's the surviving spouse.
Okay. And
she's lost her husband through HIV
and TB.
Yeah.
And she has a child that is 6 months old.
Yeah.
That's a bit unusual because normally, well, unless she didn't go for antenatal. Because if she went for antenatal, then
they could have.
Yes, they could have probably, counseled her for her to understand. And most women are very particular. They are very concerned about their children. So it's very unlikely that a woman who is counseled
She's scared.
Yes, this woman might be scared. But I mean, women in general, when they go for antenatal and they are counseled, hardly would you get any of them saying we don't want to do the test. Because
so more work needs to be done by the team
exactly
to get this woman into care and support.
Yes, but it's very important for her to test and also for the baby to also test because if there is something, which her life can be saved.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I got this from Dede just quickly. She says, how much does it cost to test and the drugs? What do they cost? Could it be that the price is a deterrent to people and, preventing them from testing and then to continue with medication?
Yeah. So if you are going to like the public facilities, the test is done for free because the test kits are being provided, and also the medications. These are what we call program drugs. Again, because we are we are having them funded by programs.
Yeah.
So they are not for sale. And so right now, even if you have a valid National Health Insurance card, you are actually covered. So when you go to pick up your medicines, you are not required to pay any money for it. So it's only sometimes in the private hospitals, where we have a bit of issues with the cost because they are not.
So there's cover for it.
There's cover for it,
right.
yes,
and it's in
the public facilities
by policy.
By policy,
okay.
Very affordable.
All right, great. I've got Ajiman on my line again. Ajiman, good afternoon.
Yeah, I've got a serious question to ask. Let me take it right now quickly. Is it true that when somebody is having other sexual transmitted disease like gonorrhea, syphilis, and hepatitis, and is still with the person on like for a longer period without cure, can it also lead to HIV/AIDS?
Yeah, untreated sexually transmitted infections increase the likelihood.
Yes,
and the risk.
Yes, that is very true. It's very true. And we always say HIV is a cousin to all the other sexually transmitted infections. So once you have one, you are at a higher risk of contracting another one.
Okay.
So including HIV.
Right.
So that's very true.
All right, great. I got another caller. Let me just take our last caller so that we can wrap up. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, good afternoon. Where are you calling from?
Kanishin.
Kanishin, what's your name? Kwame, share with us quickly.
First of all, I want to know what actually triggers HIV is.
What causes?
Secondly, what causes HIV is.
Right.
Secondly, I want to know where it originated from.
Where it originated from?
A brief history of the HIV.
Okay.
And then the third one, what are the same thing?
Okay, right. Kwame wants to take us to the origins of HIV. We crossed that bridge a long time ago, but Kwame, you just Google, you'll get it. Right? Yes. Triggers, maybe you want to Google again, modes of transmission, right? But essentially, it's a virus that compromises your body's ability or capacity to fight disease. So it breaks down your body's defenses and then opens you up to various diseases. We'll call them opportunistic infections, all right? So it just opens the door for all sorts of things to ravage your body. And the end stage, which we call AIDS, is where the body cannot fight anymore. And then we lose you. So Google that, okay, so that I spare my resource person the journey there. But I've got this from T in Pong. He says, good afternoon. I watched a video on Joy News about the effects of antiretroviral drugs. When guys take it for some time, their breast swells like a puberty or pubertal girl. developing breasts. When this happens, unless surgery, what do you have to say about this? Uncle John?
Yeah.
Are you wearing a bra?
No, sir.
Talk to T.
Yeah, I think in Kumasi, this news came some few months ago.
Would you call it news or a rumor?
It's a rumor.
Okay.
Because I have a lot of HIV children in my house that I take care of.
Yeah, you've converted your house into a kind of an orphanage.
Yeah. And these children are not developing breasts, even though they are taking HIV antiretroviral drugs.
So T, it is not true.
It is not true.
Okay.
Yes.
No, can I add something?
Yeah.
It's actually, it's one of the things I wanted to say when you asked the other question about, people thinking they're antiretroviral drugs, so we can do anything anyhow.
Right.
At the end of the day, you must know that, you are swallowing medicines, and medicines have, what they are supposed to do, but they many a time have also side effects.
Right.
And what he's saying is actually true. It's not with everybody, but it's a possible rare side effect. And there are 1 or 2 cases that we have seen.
Okay.
And it doesn't mean that everybody too has to undergo surgery to correct it.
Right.
Some of them, even as you go on with it, it subsides.
Okay.
So.
Right. So the cost Dede has sent again. Have we talked about the cost? We said it's free in the public.
Yeah, it's free.
Yeah.
Right?
It's free.
Treatment is free.
Okay.
Yes.
Testing is free.
Okay.
But for the treatment, obviously you go through some lab
some
investigation.
treatment. You must do some lab investigation
So
and some blood tonic. You
lab
pay
tests,
for
right.
the lab tests. You pay for, and some blood tonics that you must add to the antiretroviral. You pay for.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not 100% free.
Okay.
Yeah, in a way.
Right. Okay. Right. We're fast running out of time. Up next is Sunday Rhythms. But let me take quick, things you want to highlight for our listeners. Take home messages.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And for me, I will go back to the prevention of mother-to-child transmission of HIV, because we are all aiming at eliminating HIV transmission from mothers to their children in the next 2 years.
Right.
So the take-home message is, once you are pregnant, and I said this and I was quoted wrongly, it means you have had exposure to unprotected sex.
Right.
So, and just as the questioner about HIV, gonorrhea and things, yes, it means you keep having unprotected sexual intercourse, and the more you get exposed to gonorrhea, the likelihood of meeting someone with HIV is also there. And for so long as you have not protected yourself, you are likely to have HIV. Okay. So, all mothers, please, my appeal to all mothers, all women who are of reproductive age and are in union and they get pregnant, walk to any ANC, antenatal
Know
clinic.
your status.
Know your status.
All right.
And it's beneficial for you.
And find out
and the infant
and support that's
and
available.
everything is available for you. It's free.
All right, great.
Already the policy is that every pregnant woman must receive all these services for free.
Great.
So what's the big deal?
Okay, great.
So
Good
please
point.
get tested.
Dr. Vanderpoy.
Yes.
20 years of WAF. What would you want to leave our listeners with?
Well,
we'll do your anniversary another time. But, yeah.
Yes, I think I'm also going to go back to the Know Your Status campaign.
Right.
And everybody should try and take advantage of that and know their status. Like I said, if it is not there, fine. And, once you've done your test, you will be bold enough to ensure that, you will never make that negative status become positive.
Okay.
And if it is positive, you will enroll onto treatment and make sure you control this virus.
Okay. Yeah. Last point, quickly.
Yeah, thank you. People living with HIV are emotionally, psychologically sound people.
Okay.
And therefore do not take away our jobs.
Right.
We can do the job.
Right.
So don't text me before you give me a job.
Right.
I can do the job.
And then, of course, there are workplace policies
exactly.
that protect your rights.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So do not even secretly steal my blood and do HIV and come and tell me I'm disqualified
from a job.
Without even telling me why I'm disqualified.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great stuff. All too soon we're out of time. Many thanks to Cosmos Ohene Ejay, Director of Policy and Planning at the Ghana AIDS Commission, Dr. Na Ashele Vanderpoy, CEO of the West African AIDS Foundation, and congratulations on your 20 years. And then, of course, Reverend John Azuma, HIV Ambassador Extraordinaire.
Thank you.
He's the dean of the diplomatic corps. All right. Somebody's asking whether it's punishable by law not to disclose your status to a partner.
Well,
is it in our laws?
It's not in our laws.
I'm stealing a little time.
It's not in our laws, but the current act of Ghana AIDS Commission makes it punishable to discriminate against someone who's HIV positive.
Right. Okay. Yeah. All right. Great. All right. I'm out of time. Many thanks to my producer, Abeku Sankofe. Iggy is up with Sunday Rhythms. Stick and stay on Joy 99.7 FM. I'm out.
Joy 99.7 FM.